This thing. Am I right? Look at this thing. Look at it. You look at it. Is that not intriguing? Is that not different? Is that not obscure? Is that not incredibly supernatural looking? We're going to discuss this monster on today's episode of Hunting a Monster Like a Pina Gallon. So I recently came across an indie horror game called Lake Light Elementary, and it detailed the curse that had come upon a school after a new female teacher had started working there. Now, this is nothing new in a horror game, and I was just going through the motions of like collecting keys and grabbing the notes that was left all over the place to read the lore that everybody cares about in an indie horror game, solving puzzles, and then this jump scare. It's almost like someone put something in it. Oh! God, James and Jehoshaphat! Cut that out, Malaysia. Go! Now, I have seen a lot of monsters in my time. I hunt them, I study them, I spend every living minute of basically my life around them. But this one stood out, and for a few reasons. One, its appearance. In a monstrous world so full of hairy beasts and soulless mannequins and scary grandmas, this thing really stood out. The letters and the lore notes that was left all over the school kept making mention of a Malaysian vampire myth, and that intrigued me. I'm incredibly familiar with the modern stylings of a vampire and even the less appealing Hollywood vampire, but I had never heard of a vampire that was just a head and organs. But maybe the most impactful thing that I continued to hear and see during the gameplay was how connected in the continuous mention of vinegar. It was repeated over and over and over, and I really wanted to know vampire vinegar. You know, vampire garlic, but vampire vinegar? I had to figure out how the puzzle pieces fit. So let's explore this unique monster and figure out what makes it come out of its shell. Literally, it pulls all of its organs out and flies around at night while it hunts before squeezing all that human ham back down inside of its body. It's so awesome. It's so awesome. So this monster is called the You Have to Forgive My Appalachian Background and Raisin. I am going to butcher the name of this monster because it doesn't rhyme with corn, which is what I am comfortable saying. The name of the monster is called a Pina Gallon. A Pina Gallon. A Pina Gallon. A Pina Gallon. Or a Pina Gallon. But we're going to call it a Pina Gallon for the remainder of this video because it's the easiest for me to try to say with my dumb mouth. Pina Gallon. Banana Gallon. Banana Gallon. Panala Gallon. Banana bread. Banana bread pistachio cake. And it's generally recognized throughout most accounts and tellings as a nocturnal vampiric entity, and it comes from Malaysian ghost myths. Now, there are other similar versions of this monster all over the regions of Southeast Asia, like the Layak. It's pretty good pronunciation. From Indonesia, or the Kresu, which is coming from Thailand. But for this video, we are focusing on the version here from Malaysian folklore. The creature takes the form of a floating, disembodied woman's head with its organs and its entrails just trailing from its neck. Everything. All that important stuff. Its heart, its lungs, its intestines. It's just all on display for everyone to see. My initial instinct is, wow. We're talking about being exposed here. It doesn't have any form of natural protection like, you know, maybe skin or the more durable werewolf hide or something like that. So how does it protect itself from attack? Now, I can really see, as a performer of sorts, I can really see like the wow factor here. How absolutely horrifying it would be to be out on a night stroll and to see this thing floating towards me. All crazy-eyed with its tongue whipping around and its lungs receding and swelling back up by taking in oxygen because it's so excited because it's found some prey. But I would just grab a stick and, you know, whack it in the lungs or poke its little heart. hit it like a piñata. See what kind of candy comes out of the thing. But we will explore how to slay the thing in a bit. First, let's learn about the monster. So while it's vampiric in nature, it's not really classified as an undead creature, a traditional undead creature, because, get this, It's a living human that is choosing to do this willingly. Yeah, this is kind of a witch. Through years of intense, dedicated training and meditation, you can achieve enlightenment. You can become a doctor. Hell, you can go Super Saiyan. Or you can sit in a vat of vinegar with your legs crossed until you've mastered the technique of doing the equivalent of a Mortal Kombat fatality and then floating away at night and hunting pregnant women to suck them up. So for all intents and purposes, a Pina Gallon is a human being like me or you during the daytime. They run errands, they walk their dog at the park and wave at you while you're feeding ducks with bread. Or they're that one chick that's standing behind you during that Dave Matthews concert that one time who just wouldn't stop sniffing your neck. But at night, the creature removes its danglings and it floats around hunting for menstruation blood from birth. Yummy. So how does one become a Pina Gallon, you may ask? Who cares? Who wants to be one? That's not important. What black magic must you practice to achieve these incredible powers? Who would want to have these powers? So we mentioned about meditation. So a woman must meditate during a ritual bath in vinegar. And she must submerge her entire body under the vinegar, only exposing her head. There are different iterations of the story. Some saying that the condition is the result of a curse or the breaking of a demonic pact that's common for practitioners of the dark arts. Most versions details that Pina Gallons are normally female midwives, which explains their connection to babies and pregnant women. And they have made some kind of pact with the devil to gain like cool supernatural powers, like spells and mind control, like everlasting beauty, that kind of stuff. But they failed to meet some kind of requirement or some kind of stipulation in the pact, such as not eating meat for 40 days. And as a result, they become forever cursed to transform into a blood-sucking vampire. This is, of course, when that old saying comes to mind, don't make a deal with the devil. The devil always wins in the end, and you always get some kind of cursed, or you get sacrificed, or you lose your soul. It just never ends well for the mortal. There are several other versions of how to become a Pina Gallon that I've discovered. My favorite version of the story is of a young woman who was taking a ritual bath in a tub that once held vinegar. So she's just in a normal tub with water, doing ritual things like bathing, a ritual that I do every single day. So be careful, folks. If you've ever taken a bath and had deviled eggs or some potato salad recently or cleaned your tub in the past at any time, you're at risk of becoming a Pina Gallon. Now, the story goes on to say that while bathing herself and in a state of pure concentration, really scrubbing those hard-to-reach places, a man entered the room without warning and startled her. The woman was so shocked that she jerked her head back and as a result ripped her head from her neck, pulling her entrails and her organs out in the process. Enraged as anybody would be in that situation, she flew after him, a vicious head trailing organs and dripping venom, and her empty body was left behind in that bathtub. So it's at this point in my research that I really wanted to figure out why vinegar was so prolific in the story. Vinegar takes a whole host of spiritual meanings in every culture and religion, from being a cleansing agent for the spirit to being a sign that actual spirits are around you currently. It's also an actual cleaning product. One that my grandparents that I grew up with in the Appalachian Mountains used quite commonly to clean linen and cookware. It was commonly given to me as a kid for like upset stomachs or sore throats or just a general everyday health routine. We'd get a glass of water and pour some apple vinegar in there and mix it up and drink it with the understanding that it would boost our skin and our hair and our just overall well-being. The main evidence I found of the connection of this vampire and vinegar is just the overall preservative effects of vinegar. Now, there's an old saying that if you ever cut your finger off by accident, just throw it into a pickle jar and then go see a doctor to have it sew it back on. And this, of course, reminds me of the episode of The Simpsons where Homer accidentally cuts off his finger and he ends up down at Moe's Tavern, where Moe offers Homer his world-famous Pickle Brian jar and says,
"No problem. Just stick the old eye gouger in the Pickle Brian. That'll keep your thumb fresh and delicious."
Pickle Brian being a combination of sugar, salt, water, and vinegar. In the story of the Pina Gallon, vinegar acts kind of like an anti-inflammatory for the organs of the creature so it can force itself back into its inconvenient meaty cage after feasting all night long. I honestly at first thought really figured that the vinegar was supposed to keep the body preserved while the hot air organ balloon floated around all night in town. You have to imagine that your body is just sitting there. It's just no circulation, it's slumped over, it's decaying. And I'm sure that vinegar still plays some kind of part in the transformation as it's kind of a lubricant to get back into it. And I'm sure that the vinegar still lubes itself and oils itself throughout the body to help with the preservative of the meat sleeve. So who are the victims of this monster? Who does the Pina Gallon hunt and how? They like pregnant women and children. These are easy targets, I guess, to compensate for the fact that they're, a floating head and organ bouquet combination. They like to perch on the roofs of houses and under the slits of the floorboards of a home. Incredibly sneaky and creepy. These are places where women are in labor, and then the monster will, quote, hoot and shout when the baby is born. Just like I hoot and shout when they deliver my chalupa at Taco Bell. They will then insert their long, invisible, tubular tongue into the home and suck up the blood of the new mother. So it's said that folks whose blood the Pina Gallon feeds upon contracts a wasting away disease that is almost inescapably fatal. So let's say that the creature doesn't get what it wants. It has options. Even though the blood of a recently pregnant woman is preferred and the more premier cuisine, there are stories of drinking blood from the newborn baby or eating the flesh of either the mother or the child. It's also said that the placenta is devoured after it's been buried, as is custom. Once the placenta has been buried, the creature will dig it up and devour it as kind of a dessert to finish off the evening. Just think of it like a midnight snack. The other real threat that the Pina Gallon poses to victims is its actual body, its actual exposed organs and such. It is said that if you touch or you brush up against the creature or you make contact with the creature whatsoever, you will suffer painful sores that cannot be healed without again, remember where I'm from in my accent and my mannerisms, without the help of a BOMO, spelled B-O-M-O-H. And if you're curious what a BOMO is a shaman or a medicine man or a witch doctor. They can access powers from the beyond and heal you with spiritual magic and different kind of treatments. As far as other powers go, besides the tubular invisible tongue or the excreting venom that gives people ouchy boo-boo sores, the creature has been said that it can travel through walls while flying, though that's actually a pretty rare description that I could find only a couple of mentions of. It's actually more common to see that the Pina Gallon can shapeshift and move its entrails like tentacles. It can also increase and decrease the density of its body so that it can, and this was how it was described, it can ooze. It can ooze between cracks while it hunts. So now that we know what it is, now that we know what it does, now that we know what it hunts, it's our turn, baby. How do we protect ourselves? How do we slay this foul beast? The most common protection from an attack is to scatter thorny leaves of a local plant known as, forgive me, mangquang. I say ranch, I say warsh, I say schward, and I say chimley. So if I butcher these words, it's my past. I'm not doing it on purpose. So this thorny leaf is used to trap or injure the exposed lungs, the stomach, and the intestines of the creature as it flies and moves. And yes, my initial thoughts proved to be true. It has no protection, literally having its organs exposed to the world. You can hurt it just by hurting its still vital, non-supernatural organs. Imagine flying around and like a gust of wind just rolls you into some dirt, or when you have to shimmy back into your body, you develop a nasty cough because you have dirt in your lungs. Speaking of nasty, the crud that you would collect as you're shimmying and swaying through the floorboards of these houses. What if your heart gets stung by an angry bee? It's just so simple. Okay, all right. Let's get back to the story. So these thorny leaves, they're on a vine and they can be looped around doors or windows to act as a snare. I'm just imagining the intestines of this creature getting snared on a thorn and just unraveling as the monster floats around the house. Another very interesting tactic, if the Pina Gallon tries the floorboard technique, is to plant pineapples under the house. So if you are anticipating that you are going to be having a baby in a few months, you and your friends can go under your house and plant pineapples. It's believed that the prickly fruit and the leaves are a great deterrent to keep the creature from trying that route. As a note, traditional Malaysian houses are built on stilts and they have a higher clearance than, say, a modern Western home, which normally has a cement or a basement foundation, something like that, that goes underground or touches ground. Once the creature is trapped under the house, the creature can be killed with machetes. Yeah, just chop them up. Just chop that bad boy up. Just chop them. Just get to wailing. Another technique to help protect you, and this is my favorite one that I have found so far, is for the pregnant woman to keep a pair of scissors or, quote, nut cutters under her pillow. It's said that the creature is afraid of scissors. So where is the father in all of this, you may be asking? It took two to tango and put mama in this situation after all. The father is outside and he's spying. An effective deterrent to ward off an attack is to just watch the home. If you see it, chase it off with a machete. Or if you're or if you have personality or you're a hero, just shake a pair of scissors at it. So all of these techniques are if the monster is detected in its monster form. How do we detect it if it's in its human form? During their human forms, they appear as a natural, beautiful woman, but they have some telltale signs. One, they're normally midwives. Not always, but mostly. Two, their behavior. They like to avoid eye contact, as do a lot of people. You ever heard of social anxiety? So if you're watching this vampire and you're trying to blend in, never avoid eye contact. They can also be seen licking their lips during midwife activities. It's as if they're relishing in the thought of that sweet, sweet menstrual blood. So don't be cooking your world-famous dirty barbecue quesadillas while your midwife is working. You might get your wires crossed when the midwife is licking her lips because of the tantalizing scent of your fantastic barbecue quesadillas. You might mistake her for a Pina Gallon. The biggest clue and the most obvious red flag is the fact that the Pina Gallon reeks of vinegar. I mean reeks. Not, I just ate a Greek salad at lunch reeks. I'm talking ran a marathon 3 times this month, and I haven't showered, so my sweaty ball cheese is fermenting. Reeks. With all of these clues in mind, we should also discover where our newly hired, sociably awkward, lip-licking, vinegar-smelling midwife lives, so that we can finish the job. So far we've talked about how to protect yourself and how you can just beat it off with a machete. This was an interesting part of my research. There were methods to destroy the creature permanently, but I couldn't find a solid story of, say, if you pummel the vampire with said machete when it showed up at your house, does it repair the torn up organs or regenerate the severed lungs before it returns to the body? There's no clue. There's no answer to that. You guys may know the answer to this and be able to shine a light on that situation. But even if we don't know if it can regenerate or heal from a machete attack, we do know how to end it for good. So let's say you go to the creature's home and the creature has safely left the area. The most common and effective method is to pour pieces of broken glass into the empty neck cavity, which will sever the internal organs of the creature when it reattaches itself to the body, much like a human blender machine. I want you to take a second, and I want you to imagine holding the loose, limp neck of a beautiful young woman, naked, in a bathtub probably, reeking of vinegar, and using a funnel or a rolled up piece of paper to pour the broken glass from Bloodsport down the hole. It's so freaking absurd, and I love it. The other technique is pretty much the universal technique of any kind of monster cleansing. You just burn it with fire. There is also some mention of preventing the creature from reattaching its head to its body before sunrise. I haven't found what happens if you achieve that. I imagine it's probably like most vampires. It just probably explodes whenever it makes contact with the almighty power of the sun. This is the icing on the cake and the technique that just wraps up this unique and incredible monster story. The most described and non-lethal way to get rid of a Pina Gallon is to turn its body over so that when the head attaches back to the body, it is attached reverse side, thereby revealing to everyone what she really is. This is somehow non-lethal. So if you guys see a beautiful woman walking around with her head backwards and smelling of pickles, you might have yourself a Malaysian vampire. This video is purely for entertainment purposes. I'm no expert in Malaysian folklore or culture, but I am an expert in the art of the hunt and just making things fun and silly in the hopes that you guys get a good laugh and smile out of it. If you did, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to the most fun horror show on the internet. You can check out other videos on the page while you're at it, or you can catch us live. We're live every weekday on YouTube playing some kind of horror game, whether it's a AAA title or some indie gem that we found along the way. We're always being exposed to all sorts of monsters and mysteries and magic. Thank you all for watching. Stay sharp. I'll see you all in the next adventure.